Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for being here this morning. My name is John Becker, and it's a pleasure for me to join you in this celebration today. This is a very special day for Knox County Schools as we officially celebrate the Guard and Reserve employees and veterans who work throughout our district. We are thankful for their work, not only to defend and protect our country, but also to be part of the education mission of Knox County Schools. They are seated in front of us, and please join me in welcoming them. This is also an opportunity for the district to celebrate its recognition with the Secretary of Defense Employer Support Freedom Award. For those of you who aren't familiar with it, this award is the highest recognition given by the U.S. government to employers for their support and their employees who serve in the Guard and Reserve. It is a tremendous honor, and we are here at Hardin Valley Academy because an educator at this school nominated the district for this award. So we're excited to celebrate here, which is the birthplace of the idea. At this time, please stand as we welcome the Gibbs High School JROTC for the presentation of the colors and the national anthem performed by students from Farragut High School Chorus. And after that, I'd encourage you to join me in the pledge.
Say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we held at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And ladies and gentlemen, would you remain standing and let us pause for a moment of reflection and respect as we honor the sacrifice that all of our U.S. military members and their families have made. Thank you. Color Guard, you are dismissed.
Jerry, color. Right, face. Forward, march.
And as they exit the stage, please recognize the Color Guard and our national anthem. You may be seated. Thank you. At this time, I'd like to introduce a key leader for Knox County Schools. Betsy Henderson was first elected to the Board of Education in a special election in 2020 and was re-elected to a full term last year. Earlier this year, she was selected by her colleagues as the board chair, and she also has a really strong and powerful connection to September 11th in service for Congressman Duncan during that time. Please welcome Betsy Henderson.
I'm used to lowering microphones when I have to speak. Good morning. It is an honor to be with y'all here today to celebrate your service to our country through the military and your service to our students right here in Knox County. On behalf of Knox County Schools, I want to welcome you all here today. I would also like to recognize the elected officials who are in attendance today. Mayor Glenn Jacobs, Mayor of Knox County. Terry Hill, County Commission Chair. Gina Oster, Vice Chair of County Commission. School Board Member Susan Horn. Mayor of Farragut Ron Williams. And Senator Richard Briggs. Thank you for attending today's ceremony. Veterans Day is an opportunity to thank those who have served or who are currently serving our country, protecting the freedoms, values, and privileges we all enjoy as Americans. Today, we honor you who have served. Despite the risks and sacrifices, you raised your hand to serve, to make this country stronger and safer for all. Days like today are important because all too often, the freedoms we have are taken for granted. We must have days like Veterans Day to stop and remember all of those who have served to make this country safe and free. Just in the past few weeks in Israel, we have seen how fragile freedom and security can be. The threats to our freedom, our way of life, and security are real, and we must remain vigilant. You each left the lives you knew, your homes, your friends, and family, not for recognition or fame, but to answer a call to fight for our freedoms and to wear the uniform of our nation. We are grateful and humbled for your dedication in the military and in the classroom. This summer, KCS was recognized as a recipient of the 2023 Secretary of Defense Employer Support Freedom Award. Superintendent Reiswick, along with Major Michael Hicks and several other members of KCS staff, had the honor of traveling to the Pentagon to receive the Freedom Award. This is the highest U.S. government honor to employers for their support of National Guard and Reserve employees. This award symbolizes what we already knew, that Knox County Schools is deeply committed to supporting our educators and staff members who serve our country. I am deeply honored to be a part of an organization that's not just military friendly, but leading the way to serve those who serve. Your students also find inspiration in learning their teachers have served or are currently serving our country. I just want to read a few excerpts of what some elementary school students had to say about y'all from Hardin Valley Elementary School. We celebrate veterans because they sacrifice their lives for us. Veterans are important because they go to the military instead of staying at home. We celebrate to honor the veterans who have sacrificed themselves to help America. We are happy that veterans sacrificed their lives to set our country free. Veterans are people who serve in the Army, Air Force, and Navy. Veterans serve others. Some went to war, and others did some good stuff. I like that one. Veterans are important because they do things for us, and we celebrate the people who fought for us. And those are the words from the students that y'all serve every day. To every soldier, sailor, airman, and Marine who proudly serves in the armed forces of the United States of America, thank you for your service.
Thank you, Ms. Henderson. It is my great pleasure to introduce someone who's made an impact on multiple levels at our community, both seen and unseen. Wes Stowers is the chairman of Stowers Machinery, and in that role, he's not only helped build our community and the one we see around us, quite literally, but also as a business owner, he has helped create jobs, livelihoods for many people across East Tennessee. He is also a military veteran who graduated from the Air Force Academy and went on to serve as an Air Force fighter pilot for many years. Mr. Stowers is a strong supporter of Knox County Schools and also knows what it's like to fly Mach 2. Please welcome Mr. Stowers to the podium.
Thank you, John. It's a real privilege, humbling experience, frankly, to sit here and look out at you all today. I really appreciate the opportunity to be with you here this morning. And I want to thank every educator and Knox County School Board Commissioner for your dedicated service to the youth in Knox County. And obviously we're here today to recognize the veterans in the Knox County school system who have served and continue to serve in the United States Armed Forces. Whether you are active duty or you're currently still in the Guard or Reserve, you've served during, frankly, the most tumultuous period in any of our lifetimes. I got off active duty in '88. The deployment since Desert Storm, it's beyond anything I ever experienced during my active duty time. Every one of you have had to sacrifice both professionally and personally when you're sent to other places. And it's a sincere thank you for your many years of service and sacrifice. You know, when you raise your right hand and take the oath, that's an unconditional commitment to serve our nation wherever you're sent. You don't get to pick the place or the time. Each of you who have worn the uniform, you're volunteers, you're true citizen soldiers, and you've often had, like I say, to put your life on hold while you defended our nation, often under very dangerous and stressful conditions. Everyone who served, we've experienced teamwork, the best form of it. The military is a huge team, and every role is critical to its success. You understand trust. People put their life in your hands, and you put your life in their hands. You can't have a closer bond than that. Intense training, both physical and mental. Learn how to perform under pressure. You understand sacrifice. Everybody in here has been in leadership positions, and you take great pride in your unit and your achievements, but it's not about you, it's about the team. And commitment to the mission, that's being part of something bigger than yourself. Everybody in here gets that. Every one of these attributes that you get in the military, and fortunately for most of us it was at a pretty young age, they're just as applicable in civilian life. And you all are still serving in the Knox County school system, and I can't imagine a better group of role models for our young people. They come into the school system from all different backgrounds, and you're teaching them or coaching them in the curriculum, but you're also setting a life example that hopefully most of them can understand and follow. You know, this is an exciting time for the Knox County school system. I personally welcome the opportunity for our company to partner with the 865 Academies. This initiative is now out of the pilot phase and is being introduced throughout the district. And it's helping to introduce rewarding career opportunities to students much earlier in their high school careers. Exposure to local businesses and service organizations help students better understand, first, the relevance of the courses they're taking, and second, hopefully with a lot of them, it'll help accelerate the process to pursue a rewarding career they can start dreaming. And I think a lot of those will follow your example and enter the military. Knoxville and Knox County, we're growing rapidly. We got people moving here from all over the country for better jobs and a higher quality of life. And we have a potential for a great future here. And that's only possible if we educate our youth. And you all are the ones getting that done. And I can't thank each of you enough for your two lives of service. You're true servant leaders, your military service and your service as educators. There's no more noble professions than those two. So thank you very much. It's a real privilege to be here today. Thank you.
Thank you, Wes. And at this time, I'd like to introduce a longtime educator and someone who is deeply committed to that work. Dr. John Reiswick became superintendent of Knox County Schools in 2022 after working as a teacher, a principal, and administrator with the district. And as you'll hear in just a moment, he has also seen the great importance of military service in his own family and is a strong advocate to ensure that Guard and Reserve employees are supported in this district. Please welcome Dr. Reiswick.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Wes, one, for your service in the Air Force, and then also just for your service to our community as you continue to give back. We appreciate that. Thank you, Betsy, for your leadership as our board and on our board and everything that you do to make sure our kids and our staff have what they need. We appreciate that. I just want to say a few words to you all today. First, your service is a calling. Sometimes I get a little emotional thinking about that, but you chose to defend our nation at the expense of your own comfort and your own safety. It was a choice of yours to put the needs of others before yourself, and that doesn't go unnoticed by anyone up here. So I just want to pause for a moment and just say thank you. It matters. Also, want to pause for a moment and just think about your families. As this is our first year doing this. We didn't invite your families this year, but I think that's definitely something in future years we need to think about doing because, as John said, I'm the son of a career Army man. I was an Army brat. We moved multiple times in my life, multiple grades, the same year of school, and doing those things as I know a lot of your family have done as well. So, service has always meant a lot to me. But I also want to take a moment and just know that even talking to some of you before, that it doesn't just affect you. It also affects your family. It affects your children. It affects your spouse, and you, for your time to go away and serve us. So I wanted for a minute just to give them a round of applause, even though they're not here with us today. Not unlike your service in the military, education is also a calling for many of you. You've continued your life in that. I know it's not quite the same as military service, although some days probably do feel like a battle for those of you who are in that. But being an educator is also a choice for you. You've chosen to embrace the difficult career because, again, it changes the lives of others, and, again, you're putting others before yourself, and we appreciate that. If I were going to say three things that we value strongly by military folks who are part of our team and you all, one is your real-life experiences. There's no shortcut around the experiences that you've had. You've worked as a team. You've carried out missions. You've done all the things you need to do. That's what we're trying to do as a school system, too. We're trying to be very focused, very aligned for the mission of building that next generation of Knox County students. And we need your leadership, and we need your skills, and we need your experience for doing that. Also, your composure in high-stress situations. I think you got exposed to a lot of that in your time, and sometimes schools, that happens too, right? Different kinds of things happen, and we need your steady hand. We need your it's going to be okay on the other side. We need your trust the process and protocols. Everything you were trained to do in the military matter for us. And the third, I would say, is your leadership. I know a lot of you are leaders in your school, or you're leaders in your department, you're leaders in what you do, and we need that. And I think we, as a district, have not called upon that enough, that we already have well-trained leaders within our system, that it really moves quickly from education, from military. It translates well into education, and we need that. We need your thoughts. We need your processes because you're trained well in that. So we thank you for those things. We've put together a little video, which I really like a lot too. I may get emotional on that as well. Sorry, I'll just go ahead and tell you. But we value your service, and I think this video will reflect that as well.
The military's, for me, is a tradition in my family.
5 days after I graduated in high school in 1990, I went to Parris Island, South Carolina. So it's been a long time.
I decided to go to the military because I wanted to pay for school. I really wanted to go to school.
From 8 years old on, I knew that I wanted to be in the Marine Corps.
My great-grandfather was in the Spanish-American War. My grandfather was in World War I. My uncles and father were in World War II. My father was in World War II, Korea and Vietnam. So the military was a natural chain of events for me to take.
I wanted to go to the Army. So I told my mom, she was like, well, do you know anything about the Army? I was like, they'll pay for school. That was really the only thing I really knew.
The day I graduated and got my diploma is the day I traded in my cap and gown and put on my dress blues.
The military taught me to be disciplined. It taught me how to pay attention to detail. It taught me how to follow directions. It taught me that sometimes I have to do things I don't like to do, but I got to do it to the best of my ability.
The skills are transferable when you talk to people and just treating people the right way. So that, yeah, it's totally, they're symbiotic in a lot of ways.
I teach drums and dance, and I work with the band, the dancing dogs in the band. Use the disciplines here too, like as far as every day you have to come and you have to have your lap up. Just like I had to get up, put my BDUs on, put my outfit on to go run. I had to put my boots on, had to have them shined up and ready. So in African dance, you have to have a lapa, lit tights, and ready to dance every day in the same spot on the floor, in order, in line, just like in the military.
It's instilled a very good work ethic with me, and hopefully I can also transfer that over to the kids and they can understand, like, you know, just a little bit of elbow grease, they call it. It will go a long way. I want them to know that there's so many doors open for them. Because, you know, you're just trying to survive. You just want to live. You don't, like, education becomes secondary. So I want them to understand that with just a little bit of education, they can make their life 10 times better.
I love working with young people. You know, I've been a football coach, I've been a teacher, I've been a basketball announcer, I've been a baseball coach, I've done a lot of things, but the opportunity to see a young person grow, it's inspirational to me.
I've always wanted to serve others. I feel happiest when I'm serving others, no matter how simple it may be. Having done a career of service in the military, it's kind of hard to just put that down.
I think it's important for the generation coming up to see the importance of serving our country. And it's not for everyone, but to inspire kids to see, like, hey, there are careers that come out of the military, and to know that we can serve in any capacity. So we can serve in the military, but then we can also be moms, we can also be teachers, we can also be, you know, work in the community.
I mean, I love this job. It's a perfect way to continue the service.
You know, from Dr. Roswick to the principals to everyone, you know, veterans are respected, and I sincerely appreciate that.
KCS has been is a great partner with the military altogether. One, they give us some military leave days, which is really beneficial. I don't have to use my personal vacation days or sick days to go to military duty. But very flexible and understanding that, hey, serving the country is important. So while I can be an educational professional, I can also be a military professional.
So Veterans Day means to me, it is a time where we can remember and honor the ones who came before us and help this country to be free.
Remembering everybody who served and everybody who, you know, who's given up for something for us, and helping us become who we are, you know, as a country, as people.
Veterans Day, kind of like I said, is that time for us to recognize each other as veterans, but I think it's important for the generation coming up to see the importance of serving our country. And so it's important for them to see that they should be grateful for what they have. And what we have here in this country is because of men and women that have gone before us and have protected those freedoms.
So thank you. That video, thank you for those who shared. There's so many stories in that, and again, we appreciate that. I'll close just by saying this. This is a day, as Ms. Henderson said, to recognize veterans. This is our chance as an organization to say we see you. And as the leader of this organization, I want to say that. We see you and we appreciate you. I also want to say that we hope to make this an annual event. That's our goal. And we want to talk about how we continue. Our work's not done here. We've talked about the Freedom Award. It was a great honor for us to be able to receive that, not for anything that we were just doing, but it was a chance for us to kind of show one of our values, that we do respect veterans and reservists and National Guardsmen. You know, we have extended in our policy the 30 days of paid leave because that's important for us. We continue to look at things like, you know, having Medal of Honor recipients come in. Our junior ROTC, you'll continue to see them in serving in some today and doing those things, and those are important to us. So we want to continue to do that. This is just the beginning. Our goal is to continue to announce things annually that we're doing to try to recognize you all and to continue to attract. We want to attract as many folks who have been veterans and or are currently serving as Guardists or Reserves to be part of our team moving forward. So we just want to say again, I want to say again, thank you. And with that, I'll turn back over to Mr. Becker.
Thank you, Dr. Ryswick. Next, I'd like to introduce someone who was instrumental in helping achieve this recognition and who has a long history of giving back to this country. Last year, General Thomas Cawthon retired from the Tennessee Air National Guard with 38 years of service to the state of Tennessee and the U.S. Air Force. In that time, the general flew combat and support missions during operations including Desert Storm in Kuwait, Southern Watch in Iraq, Joint Forge in Bosnia and Herzegovina, Allied Force in Serbia, Enduring Freedom in Afghanistan, and Operation Iraqi Freedom. He got around. General Cawthon also worked closely with ESGR and the Knox County School System on the submittal process for the Freedom Award and is currently serving as the state chair of the Tennessee ESGR Committee. General Cawthon, welcome.
Thank you, John. And, you know, all those places I went, my wife would tell you that I missed every big event that happened in our family over all that time. So I think a lot of you can relate to that. But thanks for the invitation to be here today. It's an honor to be a part of a service like this, honoring service, both as a member of or as the state chair for the Tennessee ESGR Committee, but also as a veteran. So I appreciate everyone in here, your service, past, present, and future, that you're about to engage in for our country. ESGR mission is pretty simple. It stands for Employer Support of the Guard and Reserve, and our mission is to educate, mediate, and recognize. We educate Reserve Component members and their employers on the USERRA law, Uniform Services Employment and Reemployment Rights Act. And we found, as most of you all in this room understand, education is the key to avoiding any kind of problems there. So we like to focus on that education piece, and in that way we don't have very much conflict in the future. But sometimes that happens, and we have some issues between employers and employees, and that we offer ombudsman services to come in and do that. So that's another part of our mission, the mediation piece. And then there's the recognition piece, which is really why I'm here today. We like to recognize those employers that are not just meeting the requirements of the USERRA law, but they're going above and beyond those requirements. And we have a variety of awards that we give depending on the level of service. But the Employer Support Freedom Award, it's actually called the Secretary of Defense Employer Support Freedom Award, is the highest of those honors, recognizing outstanding employers for going above and beyond. Why is it important that we recognize these employers? Well, like any other recognition program, you want to hold up people who are doing things the right way, right, and show them to everyone else, this is how you do things. This is what it looks like if you're doing things the right way. And that's one important aspect. But we really need to understand that our reserve component these days make up about 40% of our military. That's a huge number, 40%. Just under 40% of our military today is in the reserve component, National Guard and reserves. And that means that any military operation of consequence is going to require a reserve component. I can remember my father was in the 134th Air Fueling Wing here, and they didn't get mobilized from 1961 to 1991. There was not a mobilization that happened in there. Since 1991 with Desert Storm, I can't tell you how many times they've been mobilized, 25, 30, 35 times. It's constant, and that's because more and more has been put into the National Guard and Reserves. In mid-90s, post-Desert Storm, there were about 500,000 people in the United States Air Force, active duty United States Air Force. Now there's about 320,000 people in the United States Air Force active duty, which means more and more gets put on the Guard and Reserve. And there's examples like that. Army, Navy, Marines, Coast Guard, they've all shrunk their active duty forces, and to keep the same capability have put those missions in the Guard and Reserve. And I think that really puts a stress on communities. It puts a stress on families. It puts a stress on employers. And when you recognize those employers for supporting them, I think it really goes a long way. Like I said, the Employer Support Freedom Award is the highest award. There's only 15 of these given out each year. So the Secretary of Defense, only 15 of all the nominations across the 54 states and territories. And I had the pleasure of working in Knox County Schools and their nomination package. Jim Munganast, who's out here in the audience, was our state chair at the time, and this was the first task that he gave me to do as a new member of the ESGR. And I just had a blast working with all the folks Scott Bolton, Josh Flory. There was a whole bunch. Mike Major Hicks, who's a member of the 278th Armored Cav Regiment here in Knoxville, and he's a teacher here at Hardin Valley Academy. Just working with them and finding out all the great things that Knox County Schools does for their reserve component members, their veterans, their former military. It was just really impressive. The interesting thing about it is they don't do all these things trying to win the Freedom Award. They did all those things, probably didn't even know that the Freedom Award existed, I would imagine. But they did all these things anyway and won the Employer Support Freedom Award. That's just incredible. I think one of the things that came through as I was looking at this is how much they appreciate your reserve component service, your military service, the qualities that you bring. It's been mentioned before, but teamwork, leadership, discipline, work ethic, sacrifice. These are things that military members understand and have been through, and those skills have been honed, and they're very much appreciated here at Knox County Schools. And they also appreciate your service, your continued service towards our national defense. So I think when the package was submitted, apparently the Secretary of Defense agreed with me that Knox County Schools should be one of the recipients of the Secretary of Defense Employer Support Freedom Award. This award they got, just to put it in a little bit more perspective, there were more than 1,800 nominations across the nation out of the 54 states and territories. Knox County Schools was one of the 15 recipients of the Freedom Award. I was a military commander for a lot of years, and I got to see good employer-employee relationships when it came to military service. I got to see the good and the bad. Most of it was good. This is a very patriotic part of the country. Our employers are really good about supporting their National Guard and Reserve members. But I got to see both good and bad. And if someone was to ask me what right looks like, I would tell them, look no further than Knox County Schools. They're doing it right. You want an example of how to do things, here's where you need to look. And I congratulate Knox County Schools on winning the 2023 Secretary of Defense Employer Support Freedom Award. And thank you for everything you do for our reserve component members. And quite frankly, thank you for what you're going to do in the future.
Thank you, General. Next, someone who is well known to us all, Knox County Mayor Glenn Jacobs was first elected in 2018 and won a second term last fall. In that time, he has been a strong supporter of Knox County Schools and has been a tireless advocate for the district's fiscal priorities and for the 865 Academies Initiative. This is a good time to remember that everyone should know last fall, Mayor Jacobs used his social media platforms to highlight several district educators who are veterans by telling their stories and highlighting their service, both in the armed forces as well as the classroom. Mayor Jacobs helped raise awareness about the importance and the work that all of you are doing. Please welcome the mayor.
Thank you. Thank you, John. It is an honor for me to be here today. Congratulations to Knox County Schools for the Freedom Award, and also thank you to Superintendent Reiswick and his team for this great event today. So I'm not a veteran, but I was kind of born into the military. My dad was in the U.S. Air Force, and I was born at Torrejon Air Base in Madrid, Spain, which ironically, the only other person that I've ever met born at Torrejon is Wes Stour's daughter, Lisa. My dad served 10 years in the Navy. He was in the Korean War on the USS Antietam aircraft carrier. That was back when aircraft carriers had wooden decks and one runway because they were actually running prop planes off of them. Then he switched services to the Air Force and served 11 years, ultimately was a master sergeant, served in Vietnam. And, when you hear my dad, he was load master on C-130, the big cargo planes. He would always say that he could actually authorize when a plane could take off. Okay, he had the final authorization. So an Air Force general could say the plane could take off, not until my dad said it could take off, which was pretty cool. I don't know if he ever did that when he was on active duty, but nevertheless, pretty cool. Dad never really talked about his service. A while back, he called me and said he'd been at a veterans breakfast, and there was a fellow that was wearing a hat, and he was wondering if I could get him one. There's a veterans store down in Sevierville. That's where the guy had gotten his. And he wanted this hat that said Wei Fu Bay. I was like, what is Wei Fu Bay? So did a little research, and Fu Bay was the main Army and Marine base in the middle of Vietnam, where basically combat operations took place. I asked my mom, because again, my dad doesn't really talk about it. I asked my mom when Dad was there. He was there right after the Tet Offensive, which, as you all know, was a big counteroffensive by the Viet Cong and, frankly, the Chinese Army. And Wei Fu Bay was actually at the middle of all that. I'll never forget when I was a little kid, I listened to the reel-to-reel tapes that Dad had sent home from Vietnam. I would go through his yearbooks that from the aircraft carrier, which included damage assessments from bombing runs. Then one day, you know how when you're a little kid, you go through your parents' stuff even though they're not really supposed to. So I opened his nightstand drawer, and there are a bunch of medals in there. He didn't have them, doesn't have them displayed. He just had them stuck in a drawer someplace. My dad was as I said, he was a sergeant in the Air Force. He never had a ticker tape parade. He's not going to be in any history books. But what would our country look like if people like him hadn't served? See, for my dad, he was just doing a job. It wasn't about glory or anything like that. He was just doing his job. Thank God for over 2 centuries that Americans have volunteered to do that job. In many cases, that job includes taking the ultimate sacrifice, making the ultimate sacrifice. And it's been a rough year, actually rough couple years, for the veterans and military community here in Knox County. We've lost 2 service members on active duty. One is United States Army Staff Sergeant Ryan Knauss, who was killed in the withdrawal from Afghanistan. And then just recently, we also lost U.S. Army Specialist Jeremy Evans, who was killed in a training exercise in Alaska. Both of them, sadly, were graduates of Gibbs High School right here in Knox County. They made the ultimate sacrifice. But as veterans and as active military, for those of you in the audience, that's a sacrifice that all of you are prepared to make. So thank you so much for doing that. But now your service continues in a different way. You're serving Knox County schools, and you're serving our most precious asset, our kids. And as Dr. Reiswick was saying, you bring assets and talents that are very unique to veterans. I've had the opportunity to speak with a number of you. As John Becker said in my introduction, we've done a video series highlighting veterans who now serve Knox County schools in some sort of capacity. It's really interesting to hear their stories. I know some of you better than I do others. For example, we have 2 Marines here today that I know of. Chief Perryard from Knox County Schools Security Division. Frankly, folks, it's pretty badass we have a Marine protecting our kids. Okay. But for all you guys, our school security division, I don't think gets the credit they deserve. And in this day and age, when that's top of mind for all of us, thank you all for what you do. And then also you saw him on the video, I think he stepped out, but Dr. John Bartlett, who is principal of Farragut High School. And it's pretty amazing when you see how Dr. Bartlett interacts with his kids. And he talks to them, and the underlying message is always about having discipline in your life. But he presents it in such a way that it's not like this stodgy veteran dude telling me I have to, do all this stuff. He's able to articulate it in a way that's just incredibly constructive. And his kids love him. It's the most amazing thing that I've ever seen. But you all bring just a different perspective and different life experiences that I think often missing and something that our kids really need to hear. So thank you so much for your service. Thank you for being here today. And thanks again to Knox County Schools for putting on this wonderful event. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Jacobs. At this time, we want to take a moment to recognize you all. So we are going to have Colonel Reed and his cadets start making their way forward. And we will, so it's great. Totally have some of the JROTC folks here, so they're going to come. What we'd like to do at this time is recognize you by your military branch that you serve in. So they're going to come to the front. And if you would, as we call your branch, if you would come to the front, and then we will give you a round of applause, and then we'll switch to the next one. So, all right, with that said, if you have served or are currently serving in the Army, if you'd please make your way to the front across from the cadets, please. Good that man, just like they were trained to do. They formed a line. Excellent. It's all good. Thank you all. All right, how about a round of applause for our folks in the Army? Thank you. Next, if you have served or are serving in the Marines, if you please make your way to the front. I have applause for our folks serving in the Marines, please. Next, we have the U.S. Navy. Served or are serving in the U.S. Navy. Round of applause for our servicemen and women in the Navy. Thank you. U.S. Air Force. Round of applause for those in the Air Force. Those serving U.S. Coast Guard. All right. All right, and finally, National Guard. If you're serving, have served or serving the National Guard. All right, let's have one more round of applause for all of our servicemen and women. Yeah. All right, thank you, Mr. Becker. I'll turn it over to you to close us out.
Thank you, Dr. Reiswick, our honored guest. We appreciate your remarks today. And please know this is a day for us to say thank you to all of you. But know that we are grateful for your service to make this a better place for our young people in Knox County schools and a better country to live in every day. Thank you. Have a great day.